Okay, the time is now 1 o'clock. We'll start our regular meeting for Monday, September 18th with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I just would like to say that in the front row, we have Andy Boxberger. The commissioners have been recently looking for new legal representation. And Andy, I'm glad you're here, just so that people can get to know who you are, because the commissioners hope to execute an agreement with you for you to fulfill the rest of the year for legal representation. And we're currently reviewing the contract and look to execute that probably as soon as our next meeting.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. The first item on our agenda today is Ed Beber and Julie Jensen-Kelley.
Good afternoon. So Ed and I are here to present the commissioners with the Spirit Award that we received from the YMCA for the corporate challenge. So without you approving that and allowing us to participate, we couldn't have done that. So it was a Spirit Award. It was given to us for our participation, but also for our attitudes during the competition. And also, I think that our community service project, which was held by more people than just on the team, really impressed the Y. And so they gave us this award. So we had thought about maybe doing a pyramid in here for you with Ed and I on the bottom and Mista on the top, but we thought probably better not today.
Right.
So there you
Well,
go.
thank you very much. This is great.
And
Thanks for your.
We did achieve second. Let's vote for that.
How did Commissioner Schuman do? I know
He was a rock star during trivia. I think actually his wife was, so we appreciated her being there very much.
Which was the opposite of what we thought was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for representing the county well.
Thank you.
Got several other awards, some Spirit Awards here, so this will be a great addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Scott Wagner, discussion about the septic ordinance.
Okay, the second time I've come for you to talk about that. Did you have any questions at all? I have not received a whole lot of feedback from Mr. Shipman or Health Department Attorney Les Deckard. They thought it looked okay. Was there any questions for you?
I was trying to remember, Scott, the items that are highlighted in yellow.
Those are the items that are more restrictive than state code.
I thought so.
So we're allowed to do that, but we have to first pass it, then send it to the state to their technical review committee, which starts October 1st, for them to see whether that was permissible. These are the rules that we had in effect in the current ordinance before it was banned in July. And so nothing's changed.
Okay.
Basically, three different things. The biggest issue there is we don't allow septic system installation where sanitary sewers are available, because we have several conservancy and sewer districts for our lake area. So in order to preserve that water quality and watershed, we don't allow septics in those areas. So that specifically is pointed out. Those conservancy districts also have federal guidelines as well, but this is another add-on saying, you know, when people come forward and say, yep, you have to the sewer, it's got to be done that way. The perimeter drainage for septic systems, we go up to 6% around septics instead of just 2%, because it covers all mound systems. And we have a lot of mound systems with the county because the law changed back in 2011. And since we have very restrictive soils with a high water table, a lot of people do mounds. So that covers most of our septic systems that way. The third thing is we license installers. So they either have to take our test that we have at the health department, or they are IOPA certified in order to install septic systems in Woodley County. That's pretty standard across every county. So those are our three big changes in there. That would be different from state law, but not different from we've been doing all along. So. And again, this will be set, this won't become active until the technical review committee approves it at the state level. So they may come back and say, nope, we don't like these things, change it, or make these changes, then submit again. So
Right.
I don't know why they want us to approve it, then send it there. Why can't we just send the changes? That's their process. So it may not become law until they've reviewed it.
Right. I feel that we've had ample time to review, and this is not your first visit. I know I'm comfortable, I feel comfortable with the ordinance as presented. Since, Scott's helped us out by explaining that a little bit more about the yellow. And how this is essentially the same ordinance that Willie County government has had, and we're just putting it into one document. So I would entertain a motion to approve.
What's that ordinance number, Tiffany?
It'll be 2023-09.
So Rob's question is, if sanitary sewage becomes available to property served by a private residential disposal system, that owner shall make connection. Yes, that's been the rule since 2014.
Okay.
And what we can. Yep. Now, they do have exemptions under state law for that. And that's what we'll be talking about next.
And the rule on that is 300 feet
Right, 300 feet to the property line.
and state minimum.
It used to be, it's changed. So that's what we're going to talk about. It used to be 300 feet to the residence. They got rid of that last year and made some more changes this year. So I have the current one to give you a copy of.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-09.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising the right hand. And opposed, same. That passes unanimously. Is this a copy that we can sign, or do?
You probably want one that's not highlighted, right? I'll send her a copy of that exactly.
Okay.
Okay, next I have the discussion about the homes along State Road 14. This is the current Title 13 under state law, Article 26 regarding sewer exemptions. There used to be exemptions. One was you had to be within 300 feet of the house, unless the house was next to a river, reservoir, or a pond. And then they kind of got rid of that one, and they've gone to the septic system exemption, and also then a large parcel exemption, which was previous. So as explains in this, person would have to connect unless they have a septic system that's working, that was installed new and has a permit on file with the health department, or they have a parcel of 10 acres or larger that have 2 sites for septic systems, which means they'd have to have them soil tested and has a working septic system now. So when sanitary sewer is being installed currently from Micropulse to Single Acres, there's 19 homes in between those 2 areas. And of those 19, which I sent you guys a letter, a couple weeks ago, only 6 of them have a permit from the health department with a working septic system. There's a 7th with a permit, but it discharges to the ditch. So that wouldn't be allowed. So that leaves 13 homes there that 13 homes would have to connect. There was a homeowner that wants to connect no matter what. So they wanted sewer. So we got to decide whether we force the state law on these other 13 and let the 6 follow the exemption process outlined in the ordinance, or we don't require at this time. But it's getting to that point where I need to know so Aqua and the regional sewer district can make a decision on costs and things like that. That was most of their questions. What's it going to cost? How much is it going to be? I think talking with Jeff Gard from Aqua, he would love it to be able to be the same price as everybody else in the project. He just doesn't know until the sewer district would give them permission. So I just need to know if I should pursue this further, or if you want me to just say, no, we're not going to push the issue at this time.
Um, Mr. Chair, what does the sewer district think? I know that you sit on that board, I guess, about mandating these homes.
To be honest, the sewer district has to discuss these particular homes. Not really, I can't speak on behalf of the board or even for myself. I don't have.
I would have to approach the board and get permission to connect them.
Yeah,
So they won't even give like a rough cost at all until, it doesn't seem very fair.
I know, that's why I need to, I mean, that's most of what people want to know is, are we gonna have to pay for the lift stations? Right now, all the lift stations and pumps are being paid for through the project. And then once they're connected and put online, then that becomes the owner's property. These homes are not part of the project. So the Aqua would have to go before the sewer district and see whether they would be willing to include that in the project. I don't know the financials. I don't know how much that would cost. That'd be something Aqua and the sewer district would have to talk about. I just need to know if you want me to pursue this. That my next steps, if you were to say yes, pursue it, I would go to the sewer district and bring Jeff from Aqua and say, we need to talk about a solution to these homes here. Are we going to require connections? And then see what we can get for the owners to get a cost. Because I think that's kind of what it's going to be $10,000, $12,000, and that's probably not very fair. Everybody else gets it for free. But if we can do that at cost, that maybe it's worth it to have them there. I know that Aqua did tell me that when they were installing the main line down the road, that they are putting stubs for each home connection. So there should be, we won't have to cut the line. So that's a benefit. But a lot of the homes on the south side will have to bore under the road.
So if I remember correctly, this project is mostly funded through state dollars, is that correct?
Yes, state dollars and ARPA funds.
and they're.
Right,
they're
which we haven't
counting on the
allocated
funds.
yet.
Right.
Officially.
That was,
Part of our ARPA plan that's been
Right,
approved, but funds
I
have
thought
not
it was
yet
in
been
phase
allocated.
2, yeah, so I guess, and then afterwards, the idea is to turn all of this infrastructure over to Aqua.
right, and in
Correct.
Columbia City for the current one too. So phase 1 would be Columbia City and Aqua. Phase 2 would be Churubusco. So once it's built, yes, they take over and maintain.
So I think, so they're getting all this infrastructure essentially paid for by tax dollars, and they can't take care of 14 homes out of their own pocket. It's a little frustrating.
You mean Aqua?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's worth a conversation with the regional sewer district. And then perhaps, the regional sewer district could make recommendations to the board of
Okay.
commissioners.
I will make that, be there the next meeting then and bring it forward to them.
It might be tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow night at 5:30 years?
I think so, but
Okay.
I can't remember. Okay.
Great. Any questions for me on anything else? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you.
Can I have
Thank
that
you.
contact for Aqua? Can you email that to me?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda today is Nathan Bilger with a plat approval. This was a plat that Nathan had emailed to us, I think maybe Friday.
Yeah, yep, came in, the Mylar came in on Friday, and appreciate you guys getting it on today's agenda. What this is for is a one lot plat we called Manus Homestead Section 2. The Manus Homestead original subdivision was platted about 20 years ago or so. What this does is add another existing home to the overall subdivision. Being only one home, it's one lot, and splits it off from the surrounding tillable acreage. As I mentioned in that email, the only thing kind of unusual about this is because of the existing Section 1, with covenants for all of those homes, they are revising covenants to include this in that. But you guys don't really review covenants, so everything else for your review is the normal, so right of way and easements. So,
And the responsibility is strictly theirs to meet those covenants.
correct. Staff will review it prior to recordation, just to make sure there's nothing unusual about it, but enforcement is a private document, basically. So,
Any questions about Manus Homestead?
I have none. I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. With no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising the right hand. Opposed, the same, and that passes unanimously.
Thank you. I'll just pick that up at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
We'll just sign it at the end, if that's okay.
This next item on the agenda is dispatch console discussion. This is something that's been talked about for quite some time. As you recall, Rob, I don't think you were yet a commissioner when we passed our first ARPA ordinance, but when we passed that first ARPA ordinance, one of the things that was included was new consoles, Motorola consoles for the state. That's
Okay.
for the state system, the 800 system that IPSC kind of guided us through. IPSC is the Integrated Public Safety Commission. As we get closer to the jail completion, we need to start looking at getting these consoles ordered. But I would say the delay has been in the council discussion about a combined dispatch center with the city. We've explored that. Personally, I am not in favor of a combined dispatch. I know that our current consoles are at end of life, really. I mean, we've been saying that, but they really are at end of life. I think the service agreement ends this year. Jason, is that right? I mean, we had like 2 years.
It'll take us into.
Right, it'll take us into the new build. So anyway, we upgraded our HTs, our handheld radios to Motorola, and they work really, really well, where now where it used to be that maybe dispatch wouldn't hear, or where it used to be the officer out in the county somewhere didn't hear dispatch. Now they have the opposite problem. The radios are so good, but the consoles are not so great, and they're not receiving in dispatch. And I believe firmly that by upgrading to the Motorola consoles, since we already have the Motorola HTs, I believe the system will work far greater. We've had this quote for some time, and I'm not sure that Motorola will still honor this particular quote, but
He is attempting to. I spoke with her on Thursday. I spoke with her on Thursday.
yeah, and even if not, I can't imagine that it will change that much.
Well, if it's signed even today, so.
But unfortunately, we can't sign it today because we can't sign it unless council
But that's
will allocate the funds.
still locks you in there, even if something happened.
Okay,
So
so with
that contract signed would even have to go back to legal to get their signature, which is gonna take time.
right, yeah. I just don't, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see how we could sign a contract for something without having the funds allocated by council. We can't promise to pay something. We could sign it saying, yeah, we'd like to have this, but can't promise we're gonna pay it because council has to.
I agree. I know, as Commissioner Ring said, it's at the end of its life and you guys do need it, but I'd feel more comfortable, at least with a commitment from council that they are in favor of funding it before we would sign it.
Yep. And since that first ARPA ordinance, we've approved others that didn't include the consoles, but it did include language about lost revenue, which would allow for us to make this purchase for the consoles. And I think that we're at that point now. We really need to get them purchased so that they're available when we're ready to move our dispatch to the new facility. I know I'm forgetting so much, but I just want to open it up for discussion, see where fellow commissioners are at. And I also have asked that this be added to the next council agenda so that we can go to them with some sort of a recommendation on whether it be a favorable pass or a just some sort of recommendation to them about how we'd like to move forward.
Would you like to see the quote?
Sure.
We've had this one, I believe, 6 months. Is that right? Are these 6 months?
60 days.
60
It was
days.
good for 60 days.
So,
Well, and this was,
go ahead. Oh, yeah, please.
We had this one for a while. They started working on it. Of course, there was some confusion when we started doing, like when I talked with Tiffany and things about how we did budgets, how we did the quotes, and all we needed was a price on those quotes, and then we talked about RFPs. So it's been in the works for quite a while. This one came in
Council's
July.
concern, not to step on you, but council's concern was that it's over $75,000 and they felt there needed to be
State statute actually
quotes, but the
applies.
system is the system. IPSC says this is the 800 system. It's Motorola. There's really nowhere to go for bids.
There is, but the way IPSC has it set up, so when the reason for going with this system, the main benefit is all, and I have a list and I can list it to you guys if you want them, but there's about 12 pages of the advantage of the wireline system, which that's produced through Motorola system, and they're the only provider that's approved to connect to the state system per IPSC's rules. But that's where all the benefits come in. So that's the advantage of going with the Motorola system. It's the only one that's wireline. Right now, we're losing functions because of features that we can't do because of that, especially in site trucking methods. And there's a lot of stuff I don't understand, and I'm never going to understand that whole. You guys have sat through meetings on that stuff. It starts to get like Chinese. But I think the independent person, if you have any questions, is the independent person at Kelly down at the IPSC Center that runs the state system. I mean, she'll tell you, the way things are, the way things work, and the way it is. She has nothing in it, whether or who you purchase, but their rules are their rules. So that's where we're at. The only other thing I want to add is that that wireline system needs to be done, and they're starting to run conduit and everything else out there at the job site. So we need to get the wireline laid out, which has now been contracted out to Brightspeed because AT&T Fiber, that what is ready is Brightspeed. So they will subcontract to Brightspeed. Brightspeed's already had a site visit, so we know where we're going to hook up. It's the fact of getting it from the road back, and actually they'll pull it from right around the corner. I've also been in contact with Serve when I got his number, and they're also saying they're going to be able to supply internet service to that building when the time comes. I think there's a lot of things Steve said it was still in the works, so we've also got that avenue going as well. So I guess my fear is, and I've seen this happen in the recent builds, is that if we don't get something going, we're going to be delayed, and if we're delayed, then I'm not sure what the outcome of the building is. I think everybody is, of what the old jail is going to be. And I would hate to see us have to support 2 dispatch centers when you just can't shut one down and then go to the next building. And then because of whether that building's being used or not, there's utilities and everything else that are still going to have to be supplied to that building, all the internet service and phone systems when you cut them over. So that's just a concern for me on the timing of things. And we're getting late in 23 already.
What about a special meeting for council?
I think the quote is.
Closes up again, but it was last Friday. It was there.
Last Friday.
So with that is that if you sign that, you're still not bound to that. That has to go back. That has to be looked at through legal. That has to have their signatures. Then it has to be set back. We're not bound until we make that first payment. In preparation for that, I know that that 911 is going to be able to contribute funds to that total. So we already have the paperwork around. So when that does come up, we can get on the agenda. She's got the appropriations form filled out. to actually make that transfer, to make that down payment as well, just so you know that.
Yep, and the quote, the current quote, is 671,273, and of that, dispatch will contribute 200,000.
There's a requirement, yeah.
471.
So 25% down.
For us to cover, and the funds are available even in that lost revenue, because as it stands today, not yet appropriated or allocated is $1,325,007. I'm sorry, $1,325,716.42. So those are just some notes here, but that's what's still available. That doesn't include any discussions about the renovations that we're discussing now at community corrections. That's included in here already. So this is still, the remaining funds are there, they're available. So I would like to see us approve that at our level conceptually, or however we need to do that, so that we can go to council and say, this is something we have approved. Now we just need you to allocate the funds to make this purchase.
It's the biggest decision we need to make as it moves is, are we going to move forward with dispatch as it is currently? The city has their own system, the county has a system. And there's been much discussion had. There's been a study that was commissioned multiple times. I was made privy to that study and I have gone through it extensively. In that study, it says that the idea of combining, the first criteria is, can the service that the county now enjoys be improved or at least maintained? And that becomes before any kind of financial consideration. And to my research, that's not proven in the study that it can be improved or maintained. And so beyond that, I don't see savings for the county in that study. So I'm at the point where we move forward.
So I think what I'd like to see us do, Teresa,
Did Matt look at that? I'm just concerned because council has to allocate the funds. That's my only thing. And I think I was even the one that brought that up, I think, to Janelle, like, where's did you guys get a new quote or whatever? Because I remember it being like 10 to 12 months out. So I'm not trying to delay anything, but I also don't want to upset council either with signing a contract when they've not said that they're going to fund it.
I
So
don't
that's my
intend to sign
only.
a contract today. I don't intend that. I mean, if it were solely up to me, I wouldn't do that. I know, I heard you. I would feel much more comfortable executing a contract after the funds are available. What I would like to see us do, though, is make a favorable pass, a favorable recommendation to council for them to allocate the funds needed for this purchase. And in which case, if they do approve the allocation, then we could ask for a new contract with, I can't see in 60 or even 90 days, I can't see a huge difference in the cost. I don't, maybe I'm crazy, maybe it'll go up 100,000, but why? I just can't, I would really challenge that. And I'm sorry to the people who are preparing these that, they have to yet again, maybe potentially prepare another if they're not.
I will, depending on how you guys do today, I'll have to reach out to her again today to let her know this one. I guess the only thing I need to be prepared for on anything is if there are questions between, from Kelly, from the state, we're not gonna know that.
And my hope for the council meeting is that somebody can come along maybe from Motorola, maybe from IPSC, and answer some of those questions that council might have, because I can't answer them. I don't understand it like you said. I mean, I understand more every time we discuss it, and I still am clueless. Janelle knows far more than anyone else in the room about this, and I really trust and lean into her on questions and that sort of thing. But I think it would be helpful if we also had experts outside of Whitley County government with us at the council meeting to answer any of those questions.
I can see what I can do on that one if the other availability goes. And if not, I don't know, can they, if they're available, but only by phone? Is that okay too? If they absolutely
Yeah,
have
I can
something
get them a link so
conflicts?
they can, like we had
Zoom
Beber
in.
Tilly do.
Okay. We'll see if I can get some schedules worked out. Thanks. Do you have any questions?
I don't.
No.
I'll make a motion for favorable pass to council to purchase the new console for dispatch with the $200,000 coming from the 911 funds.
Second.
And the remainder coming from
ARPA.
which is. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising the right hand. It was the same, and that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda, we have a few facilities requests. We have, and this is a repeat year over year, a Christmas celebration, a community Christmas celebration that's done annually in December. And the dates for this would be December 1st and 2nd, which is a Friday and Saturday. And the event would go from setup would be at 4:30. It's like maybe teardown would be at 8:30 each day. So evening hours should interrupt normal business on Friday.
I have no issues. I don't need to see it. I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Yeah, thanks, and I have a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. This is unanimously. The next is for Old Settlers next year. The request is for courthouse, restrooms and courthouse grounds. And it would be from 6:17 to 6:23 from noon to noon. I don't recall ever approving a request for courthouse restrooms, especially after hours. I don't recall that ever being requested. I'm not sure how that would work.
They want the courthouse open for just the restroom use?
It appears.
I don't know how well that would go.
Yeah, I don't know how we would police that unless we had someone in here at all times paying someone, so.
I think one thing that we could do is maybe take no action on this one and contact them for more information, see what exactly they're looking for. So we'll set this one aside. Fine. No action. And the last one is for the Domestic Violence Task Force. This would be on the 26th of this month from 1 to 1:30, and they're just requesting use of the gazebo.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second.
Okay, one motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That passes. The next item on the agenda will be payroll and accounts payable claims approval.
So I had the opportunity to go up and go through accounts payable. Everything looked to be in order. I had no concerns, so I'll move to approve those.
So we have to do separate motions, one for payroll, one for accounts payable.
I say payroll.
You said kind of both, so you just have to make a motion for payroll and then
Accounts payable.
Okay. I have a
Second.
motion and a second to approve accounts payable. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion to approve claims, or payroll rather.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. And that also passes unanimously. Has everyone had a chance to review previous meeting minutes? This would be for September 5th. With all commissioners present.
Yeah, I'll move to approve previous meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Anything else to add? Anything I'm forgetting? Public comment, we'll open up for, public comment will allow for 3 minutes per person to come forward, introduce yourself and provide public comment. Hearing none, Commissioner Seaman, anything to add?
I would just like to thank Attorney Matt Shipman for his years of service to the county.
Commissioner Basinger?
Just a little broadband update. And thank you everyone who has taken the test. As of right now, we have over 6,000 confirmed addresses that are underserved that we are going to be able to turn into the state to help us get some grants.
Great. The only thing that I might add is that I've done this before. The community lost a key member, someone who a lot of us knew and loved, Phyllis Wheeler, and just wanted to recognize that and let the Wheeler family know that they're in our thoughts and our prayers. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting.